Have you ever felt lost, untethered, searching for something more? Welcome to Angelic Footprints, where the spirit meets the road on a journey to self-healing and rediscovery. I'm Dagmar, your host, psychic medium and seasoned traveler. Each week, we'll explore the world of angels and personal transformation. We're going to dive into compelling histories and captivating mythology. You're going to hear remarkable, real-life angel encounters and discover how you too can connect with the angels guiding your path. Whether it's through practical tips, meditation techniques, or stories that resonate deeply, Angelic Footprints is here to light your way. From mystical journeys to profound self-discovery, let's embark on this transformative journey together. Are you ready to find your angelic guide? Then subscribe to Angelic Footprints today and step into a world where angels walk beside you every step of the way. Angels, spirituality, healing, let's ignite your transformation. Hello and welcome everybody to today's episode of the Angelic Footprints podcast. I have a very special guest with me today and her name is Jen Rigley. Now, Jen is an author, a motivational speaker, and a personal transformation expert who is focused on women's empowerment and living your best life after 50. Her mission is to inspire and empower women in midlife to create a new story for their life, especially after facing significant challenges and trauma. Jen is a former top sales and marketing executive working with both startups and Fortune 500 clients. And she is the founder of Flourishing Over 50, a brand whose powerful message is rooted in overcoming adversity in midlife. With an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management and 30 plus years of real life experience encountering and overcoming significant trauma and challenges, Jen is sought after to share her story of resilience and triumphing over adversity. Jen, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Dagmar. I'm excited to be here and talk to your audience and hopefully some of my audience as well. That was quite an introduction. But what I want to say a little bit about myself is I am the founder of Flourishing Over 50, and this has been a passion project for me that I started years ago, but I kind of just dribbled into it little by little. I started blogging about some of the things that we face in midlife, and that's kind of how I got started. But I have, like I know many of us have, encountered significant challenges and grief and trauma along the way to get to this place in midlife. And I realized that there are so many women at this stage that are really foundering, struggling not only to find themselves, but for me, part of it is understanding, where did I come from? What is this life about? And then most importantly, what I try to do with Flourishing Over 50 is, where do we go from here? And how do we have the most fulfilling life in the time that we have left to us?
Oh, Jen, that is wonderful. And I know of many people who are exactly in that position, as you say, wondering how on earth did I get here? And what's there still left for me to be achieved in this lifetime? We get to that certain age and we wonder, well, is it all over? Have I done everything? So I totally hear you and I totally get that. Jen, you wrote to me and told me about an angelic experience. Would you like to share that, please?
Yes. So this is the first time that I'm really talking publicly about this. But as I mentioned in kind of my little bit of intro, I have been through a lot of grief and some traumatic experiences. Starting when I was 10 years old, my father died somewhat suddenly and left my mother to raise six children. And so, at the time, 10 years old, you don't realize at the time, oh, this is a traumatic event and this is going to affect me for the rest of my life. But that happened. And then we kind of set it aside and we never talked about it again. It was a little strange, but I never really understood the impact until much, much later. So we are talking, now I'm in my 50s and I've had multiple other instances where I've had challenges. My brother-in-law was killed in a car accident on Thanksgiving, and that was very traumatic for my whole family. But then, very tragically, my sister, who he had been married to, died 9 months later in a car accident. And so I have this layering of trauma. And then later, what I really talk about, and it's tied to this angelic experience, is I went through a period, and I know there's other women, other people in this lifetime that deal with this, where all of a sudden you've got one thing and then another and then another. So challenges kind of pile up in a group and they threaten to bring us down. And at this time period, it really did bring me down. What happened was I was laid off from my sales executive job. And then my mother started going into decline with some dementia, and she was older, and we needed to kind of rally around her. And then I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so it was this series of three pretty significant traumatic events that happened. And I was struggling to hold it together. And then my mother passed. And that for me, I was grief stricken, like many of us are. And that just brought me down literally to my knees. But for this particular experience, I had had all of these things happening, and I was at home one day by myself because when we have children or others in the household, we tend to force ourselves to show up. We do what we need to do. But I was at home alone, and I was on the kitchen floor, and I was just grief-stricken, tears streaming down my face. I was on that floor. I could feel the cold tile, and I did not know how I was going to get up from that position or how I was going to go on. And as you mentioned, thinking to myself, is this all there is to life? And then I started hearing some whispers. And that is the angelic experience that I wanted to share with people that are listening. I started hearing words such as, this is a really traumatic time, and we understand that, but you are going to be okay. You are going to get up off this floor. You will have a life to live, and you will experience joy in your life. And I realized it took me a while to understand what was happening. And then I realized I was hearing voices in a way. It's not necessarily like people speaking to you out loud, but you're getting these vibes, you're hearing these things, you're sensing these things. And I realized that was my mother, that was my father, that was my sister, kind of surrounding me with peace, serenity, and just an understanding that it was going to be okay and life was going to get better. And even more importantly, that they were all doing great. They were all fine. They were happy where they were. And that gave me a sense of peace for some of these traumatic things that had happened, that these people who have left my life that I loved and that I worried, where are they? Are they happy? They were. They gave me the sense, the feeling that they were happy. And they gave me the feeling that I could get up off the floor. I could keep moving. And one day I would experience joy again.
Wow. I was absolutely so moved by that story and the way you told that layering of those experiences. And I think everybody gets to that point where, usually we can cope with one thing or maybe two things, and then you get that layering effect going on and you wonder how much more can I actually do? So I totally understand that position. And it's a beautiful thing that you got that message that you would be able to go on. It's almost like a recognition that there's something else that you still need to achieve. Would you agree?
Yes, and I can say it changed my life. In a way, it changed it in an instant because it allowed me to recover and get up off the floor and have a feeling that I could move forward. But it also changed my life in a big way because I had started this Flourishing Over 50 as a passion project. But then after I received that message, I really understood that part of my reason for being here was to share that message because I knew, and I know you know this too, there are many of us that are literally on that kitchen floor or metaphorically on that kitchen floor, not sure what the next steps are. And so it really just involved me in this feeling of wanting to share the story, the message, and then start supporting and inspiring women to lead that next better life after going through grief and trauma.
Well, Jen, it certainly sounds like you've been able to do exactly that, move forward. And now you're taking that calling to the next level to help others with their own trauma, with their own challenges, and really helping them move past that so that they can have that joy back in their life. Jen, we need more people like you. It's a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've already answered my next question because normally I would ask, how has that influenced your life? You've already told us about that. In terms of helping others, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that? What do you do to help others with their own trauma and their own challenges?
Yes, thank you for asking. So, what I do is I speak and I write on the whole idea of flourishing over 50, but really flourishing in midlife. So, I speak, I write, I have articles that people can review, or you might be able to see me speak somewhere. But I have a website and a social media account that is very easily flourishing over 50 with the 50 spelled out. But that's where I provide most of my support and inspiration for women over 50.
Oh, lovely. So, do you have a specific website address or how do people get
Yes.
in touch with you?
So www.flourishingover50, and again, the 50 is spelled out. So there's a lot of information there. And then on social media, it's at Flourishing Over 50.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Jen, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing that story. It's inspiring to know that our loved ones, whether that's the people that we know who have passed, whether we call it also the divine, whether it's our angels, it could be any one of those that one of our listeners will be able to identify with. And they'll listen to your story and say to themselves, I can really identify with what's happened to Jen. And I do really hope that they get in touch with you and find out ways of perhaps working together. Jen, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any last thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yes. So, what you said there is maybe someone will hear my story and feel some inspiration. Or what I really want them to know when they're listening is they might be at that bottom where they're really struggling. And maybe they have not had the divine experience or the angelic experience or however someone might want to talk about it. But I just really want to encourage those people to be open to what might come. And one of the main tenets of what I talk about and teach about is the idea of possibilities. So just keep your mind open to the idea of possibilities. It is possible that your loved ones from the other side are there supporting you. It is possible that they will show up in different ways in your life. It is possible that you will feel joy in your life again. And I'm not here to say, get on your feet and start experiencing joy immediately. I just want people to be open to the idea of possibilities because that then makes you more open to what is in the world for you.
Wow, absolutely. I 100% agree, Jen. And they're my words as well. Having this podcast is about opening people's minds to the possibilities. We don't just live in the physical world. There's a spiritual side that wants to be acknowledged. And, when we open ourselves up to that, there is such a wealth of support that we can access. So thank you, Jen. That is a beautiful message. And I do appreciate it. And I hope our listeners are really taking heed of that, just allow yourself to open yourself up to that support, and it will absolutely be there for you, whether it's from the divine or whether you have a beautiful person like Jen who you can reach out to and have some help getting some healing and moving your life forward. In the meantime, if you found this episode valuable, please share information about the show with 3 people who you believe would find it beneficial. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a 5-star review on the platform where you're listening. Until the next episode, blessings, and may your life be filled with hope and inspiration.